Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. This is about Duelund, the audio company in Denmark called Duelund. This is the sound, basically describing the overall sound. I know there are different Duelund products, they're all kind of different in sound, but this is me connecting the dots, trying to give you an understanding as a whole what this brand is about, since I've tried most of their products, not all. And just notice that this is 2021. There might be other newer products that I won't try and mention in this video, so take that into consideration and just know that with my videos you have to kind of watch them from start to end to really understand the context of what I'm saying, so bear that in mind. Yeah, so very interesting company. Yeah, I think that Duelund Duelund makes a lot of different components, like silver, copper wire, silver strips, capacitors, resistors, and so on. And I think that also now they probably make units. I think I saw that someplace. I haven't heard their units. It took me a while to kind of gather my thoughts about this brand, because I have mixed feelings and I just wanted to sort that out in my head before I convey that message. So for me, Duolon is the tannoy and aquaphase of the cable industry and component industry, meaning that it's up there, close to the top, way above average, but still far from the top. So that's not an insult to Duelund. That's a compliment. Being above average. If you're above average, you're doing a good job generally in hi-fi. So yeah, some people are gonna be offended by that. Others are gonna be like, yeah, dude, you show them. I don't care. That's how I see it. Okay, everybody will see things in a slightly different way, but they definitely get a lot of respect from the community. Whoops. And there is a sort of a small cult following, a bit like the Danish brand called Torhauge, which makes a very opposite sound. Torhauge. That's how it's spelled. I'm just gonna erase that. So it's considered generally a very posh brand. I wouldn't compare this to designer clothes. I'm definitely not a designer clothes kind of guy, but you can kind of consider it as a sort of designer clothes brand in the whole clothes world, where you have this posh, looks good, gets respect, established kind of authority, just to kind of tell you guys what Duelund really is. So they are established. A lot of people respect them and think that the sound is cool. And there was a time before, when I was getting into Duelund, in the start period, where I did think that it was the best. But that was a period before I tried AudioNote. I mean, actually owned it. I had heard AudioNote at that time, but I hadn't really owned it and fully understood it at that point. But it has a distinct sound. Just like AudioNote has a very distinct sound. And I do definitely respect Duelund because they are based in Denmark and are considered exclusive. And I remember contacting several people about making some Duelund projects. For example, having silver wire inside of a speaker, capacitors, stuff like that, because they do have a certain appeal, certain character, certain priority. That's just, when you're coming from, the lower end of gear, you're like, your mind is just going like, whoa, give me some of that. And there was something very exciting generally about all the products that they made. And there was a sort of unique, flashy, cool, energetic, almost natural type of sound. But now I can finally, having gathered my thoughts, fully understand Duelund. So first of all, I would rate Duelund as being without a doubt in the top 10% of all cable and hi-fi parts manufacturers. A lot like Mundorf, but I think I kind of have to put Mundorf ahead of Duelund. That's just me personally, but I kind of prefer that company in a way. But they have their own distinct sound. And I was kind of lucky to try several do-it-yourself projects with especially the silver strips, which is what we call in our country here fladvalset sølv. Sound like an American. So in order to get that nowadays, now you have to order a whole 100-meter roll of silver, and yeah, that gets pretty expensive. And then we're into the I think we're into the $3,000 to $10,000 zone for a roll like that. That's just me guessing. Depending on the thickness and the width of it and all of that. And yeah, let me just get into that. That's when I really started to become almost obsessed with Duelund here. Because one of my friends, he got a 2x3 meter long shotgun do-it-yourself speaker cable project. Let us say speaker cable, else people are not going to understand that. And then it had some kind of a Teflon insulation kind of thing going on. And then we had, like these really good matching plugs, which are the Oyed SPL spades. Not a lot of stuff in the world works together with these spades, but, my friend who made this for a previous friend, he's no longer my friend because, he made this. And it was just, an artful, fantastic do-it-yourself sound. It didn't sound like a normal do-it-yourself cable. I mean, we were really talking about crazy details here. You usually don't get this type of detail with a do-it-yourself cable, but it was good. Trust me, it was good. And that was a really good pairing. Just this was really speaking the same language as the silver cable that got made. So, and then what are we talking about? We're talking about this kind of stuff here, this flat silver type thingy. I don't know about this thing. I don't think that was on it, but fascinating, absolutely fascinating sound that I hadn't heard before. This was really, at that time, blowing my mind. And yeah, it was some of the best sound I've ever heard at that time. Insane detail, macro detail, so fast, so lively. Yeah, a bit on the analytical sound, top resolution, but still a tiny bit flat and unnatural compared to the best cables in the world. Now, when we say best cables, we're talking about those insanely priced Tara Labs cables at the top. I would say the top Kondo cables, and especially the Audio Note silver cables. They are a hell of a lot better, but just price wise, he got it at a good price. It didn't cost that much to make. So that was a game changer. That was really a game changer, where I thought I was almost about at that time to get into this religion of Duelund, which was just so different compared to what I have heard before at that time. So this was a sound that was a lot like Nordøst Valhalla, if you want to compare it to something, So just to give you an idea of what that sound is. So if you ever get a chance listening to that, it was very, very similar to that. And we could save a lot of money doing this, instead of having to go to a store and buy a cable there. A hell of a lot of money. And no, I don't have the formula for making that cable. That was a one-time thing that my friend made for another friend, and then he decided to use him and do all kinds of things to him. But that's one of the reasons why he isn't my friend anymore. But yeah, I just want to mention this, that this was the sound that this sound was actually tiny bit frustrating for me, because I actually ended up owning this as power cables. Yep, that's right. We actually made some of those strips fit into power cables. And disclaimer, don't do that. That's not legal. That's not safe. It's not meant for that. But it gave me a really good understanding of Duelund, their sound, what it actually does to the sound. And I began to understand that what I was listening to wasn't real detail at the highest level, how you solve a problem. Without a doubt, this was mind-blowingly good detail that most people would give an arm and a leg for if they heard it in the right context that I did. Not a lot of people get to hear it in that context. And yeah, just don't ignore that sensor alarm on my PC. I'm doing something in the background, that's why it's going nuts. So I feel that potentially we could have made the sound a bit more natural, balanced, and integrated. I gave it a bit more depth, but again, I feel that when you're going with the Duelund sound, the silver sound, you're getting this, I think I'm going to mention this later on, but you're getting this sort of cocaine effect. And no, I haven't tried cocaine. Where it's like a drug that paralyzes your ability to fully understand what's going on in the sound. So I feel that it kind of tricked my brain, thinking that this is the ultimate sound in the world. We have to do this with every single thing. It took me a while to understand my friend who actually told me that I shouldn't buy this stuff. And he, of course, had Audio Note gear, of course. But again, it's kind of me in a nutshell. To start with, I have a tendency of seeing the best in stuff, and then listening to his more mature advice, I got to understand what he really meant by that. So all respect for that good advice. So yeah, like I've written here, it's kind of it's crazy good. The sound is crazy good, and you get a certain angle, style, personality. Some people really like that, and I also really like that to start with. But like I've written here, it just does a certain type of detail that and I just want to say that I've tested this on a lot of different systems, not just my own. But I just want to explain this thing, this detail effect that happens at this level. Usually this is a level of sound that you can get from a lot of brands. Not a hell of a lot, but some brands up there that usually charge boatloads of money for this and that cable and these components here and there. There is this zone of sound where sound is getting boosted. You're getting shitloads of detail. You're just almost getting so much detail, your brain is being overloaded. And you're kind of going like, drooling a bit like Homer and Simpsons. And there's just so much frequency, response, reaction, leading edge. And then at the same time, there's this sense of coolness, riding the wave, as I said in a previous video, where you're just like, yeah, baby. Give me that detail. And it has a very addictive type of sound, but it's a bit like if you've ever experienced one of these... getting into the opinion area here. If you ever experienced a sexy girl at work who knows that she has a lot of power over men, and because of that she does stuff that she should not do, simply because of her looks, putting a spell on men. I've seen this so many times at work that really make some of these girls act really nasty. But so in a way that I think that most people like that, and me just being one of those, I don't know how many percent of people that just don't really like that after a while. But and I have to say again, this religion of using cotton and oil and tinned copper that Duelund does it change the sound? Yep, it changes the sound, but I don't think that the way that it changes the sound in the normal way of fixing things in the the high end world, I don't like that way of controlling the sound. It is a sort of a way taking a thing that's out of control, being a bit fake, and then just putting this sort of frosting on top, which is a bit of the opposite sound, so it simulates a analog sound, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of stuff that goes on like that in the higher end of audio world, where you do this opposite trick where you have something that's insane in one direction and you take a bit of window dressing in the opposite direction and you put it on top. I don't like that. But is it appealing? Does it sell? Will a lot of people in this world like that sound? Yeah, a lot of people will like that sound. Trust me. That shit sells gear. So why not make that sound? And it is unique. Duelund has a unique sound. It is not like an normal audio sound. There is a lot of sexiness, pizzazz, product like cool X Factor sound that you want. It makes you really want something. But I just felt that in regards to some of the, let's just talk some of the components that they had, capacitors and stuff like that, I did notice again when my friend told me this, that there was a bit of added noise with some of these Duelund components, and I didn't hear it before, but he made me aware of it, and yes, then I suddenly did hear what he said. So Mm, I feel that, if you want something that's opposite of the usual Cardes and Fenden Hull sound, VDH, and yeah, let's just call that a religion of sound, because Cardes, I would say Fenden Hull and Duelund and MIT cables, they are religions of sound. I would say that they all are not neutral. They all are what they call neutral, but I would call them all, you know, ways of fixing sound going in certain directions for certain people that are into different types of sound. That's what I would call it. So I would say Dulon is a sort of religion, um, where you're kind of going in a certain direction. So if you're all about sexiness, coolness, and woof, and I'll do that for you, and wow, look at me now, and like dum dum dum, a lot of ease, go for that. But if you want more of a caramelized, tonally warm sound, perhaps it's Cardas. If you want something that's, how do I, generalize Fender and Hool? They make so many different sounds, but still sound, so much the same for me. It's more of I would say a lower end Cardas sound for me. But they do once in a while make some few cables, like the Revelation, Vandenhoel the third cable, that are exceptional and quite good. But it has some traits with Cardas, but I think on a lower warmth level than Cardas, where I feel that Cardas just somehow sounds more real, natural, and neutral. That's just my opinion, okay? But MIT cables, yeah, I mean, it's so easy with that brand. Everything's basically analytical and cut up in pieces and separated, and that can to some degree sound very cool on some systems. For example, spectral gear on a Wilson audio speaker. Even though I hate MIT cables, it somehow it just, I don't know why, it just sounds fantastic. Don't ask me how that works when it basically on a lot of other gear sounds like crap to me. But again, we're all different. This is just my opinion, but it kind of puzzles you. It kind of puzzles you how something that you think sounds in a certain way, when you put it on some other gear, it can just go from being horrible, you just want to turn it off, to like being, oh my god, I want to listen to this for 10 hours before I go home. I can't explain that, but they definitely all have their own distinct sound, that's for sure. um so generally, if I would recommend a cable that will fit most people, I would generally suggest something like Cardas or AudioQuest mid to top models. Is it expensive? Yeah, I think it is, but I think that's like the best compromise that most people in the world can make with most normal gear out there, being either transistor or tube or whatever. That's like the best compromise sound, I think. So, mm, there's some other things you also can read here, but I also noticed that the quality of Duelund silver strips. My friend told me this, and again, I had to learn it the hard way. He said that he doesn't make those cables anymore, and I asked him why. He thought that the quality of the silver had deteriorated through the years, so that depending on what roll you got and what thickness from what era, not era, but time that you got in, it would change quite a bit being inconsistent. And again, I learned this the hard way. He was totally right, at least in my ears. So, it's a frustrating thing. In one way, I really want to recommend doing Duelund, especially when you've had the first couple of systems and you want to try what, you know, the much more expensive cables sound like at the top, like Nordost, Valhalla, Odin, stuff like that, Siltec. You want to get a taste of that, also other exclusive stuff. You want to taste that, but for a fraction of the price where you make it yourself. And yeah, my God, the cable that my friend made with the Duelund cable strips and the O8 SPL plugs, that was a piece of art. And I had, another cable that my friend made, which also was Duelund, with Duelund melted silver strips turned into a Duelund spades plug, and oh my God, was that also really good, and that was some of the most natural Duelund sound I've ever heard. So I feel that there's a lot of potential there, that you should try it, but realize that it's hard. It's hard to get that last bit of sound that you usually get from Kondo, Taralabs, Audio Note, which I think are a lot better now, but again at a much, much, much more expensive price. So I mean, it's tough, but again, if you try it on RCA cables and RCA plugs like X-Hado, that's a bad decision. My friend made that for me, and good value sound, but we just didn't realize that the X-Hado RCA plugs weren't that good, especially with Duelund. I mean, most people, it will totally blow most people's minds listening to this combination, these RCA plugs with Duelund. It was a fantastic value, but we did realize that once you had, Audio Note plugs on Duelund, yeah, it sounds a lot better, a hell of a lot better. Even the O8 Genesis RCA plugs sounded a hell of a lot better than these X-Hado. And those aren't even close to the Audio Note RCA plugs, the top ones, but I think they're called ANP, the ones from Audio Note. But I mean, you could put it on Furtek NCF plugs, and it might sound really good. I haven't tried that, but it's that same compatible sound with Duelund. Or like I said, O8 Genesis, also good as an RCA cable. But I feel that if you're into that really top natural tube sound, and I'm talking top tube sound, I think that even Duelund, which on the surface plays a lot of really freaky good detail, it just doesn't work with gear like Audio Note, which is in that zone, and Kondo and stuff like that. It's just not, it doesn't have that deepest deep level of sound. And I think that it's not only just because of the quality of the material that they use, it's especially the, what do you call that? The shape of it. I've noticed trying a lot of other brands, when you have strips of silver, blocks of silver, cubes, whatever it's called, square cables, whatever, there is a thing that happens with the detail that you either like or you don't like. And personally for me, I feel that it makes detail unnatural and that it highlights certain parts of the detail going in a certain direction. And also, several of my friends think this. I feel that you can easily get too much middle tone detail, too much life, too many micro things happening in the sound, where even though it beats probably most cables in the world, there's just no comparison to like the best of audio, the best of Tara Labs, the best of Kondo. I mean, not even close. But again, can we make that comparison because those are different price classes? Maybe not. I don't know. But I think that you should try it. I definitely recommend Duelund. These are just my considerations, and I think that it's generally considered that Duelund and Mundorf are like whoa, you have Duelund in it, whoa, you have Mundorf, it must be good. I saw some of these newer R2R DACs with Mundorf and Duelund, and saw some streamers with Mundorf and Duelund. And what a lot of people don't realize is that you're basically this is how it functions. Okay, I've been in the game for a while, so I know how this works. If you see stuff like that in an R2R DAC, know this: that R2R DAC is most likely a fake type of analog sound, meaning they've used Mundorf or Lyngdorf silver components to pep up the sound. Now, a lot of people will like that, but I'm one of the few people that will not like that, because I feel that you're basically just hyping up the sound, taking it from a lower level or analog warmth sound, and then just going like, here's some energy, here's some energy, here's some energy, do that, do this, do that, show a bit of detail, do this and that, So I don't like that way of thinking. It's a cool way to sell a product. Will that product most likely be better than a lot of other lower-end products that don't cost as much? Yeah, of course, when you compare it to the normal part of the market, but yeah, I just wanted to share that, because I think that it's kind of a trick that companies do, where it's kind of an indicator of, I wouldn't say how crappy a sound is, but it's an indicator of what is going on in the sound and how are they trying to change the sound. So yeah, those are just my considerations. And I made a video before called Duelund Project video, something like that. And I mentioned this thing that the Duelund does with the detail, which is you're kind of riding a wave in an easy way, so that with some cables it gets so hectic and fast, it kind of freaks out and goes nuts. But with Duelund, it's sort of a bit of that, but it's in an easier, more cool type of way, where you don't quite get as fatigued by it. So yeah, it's difficult to describe, but ultimately go and try it. There are different types of Duelund sound. There's the copper, there's the silver. They make the resistors here. I generally don't like the tinned products that they make, but I have to admit, value-wise, my God, is it a lot of value that you get for the sound? So of course, should a lot of people then try that? Yeah, I mean, down there where a lot of people anyway are going to buy some really crap cables, you might as well try Duelund, because it's one of the better alternatives down there in that category, But it all depends on you as a user. How are you going to solve your problems? On what level? So that's basically all my points that I wanted to make doing a proper Duelund video, and of course having components like this in a do-it-yourself speaker is something that really gives the speaker a lot of personality, a lot of class, a lot of priority. Um, you just get a lot of substance somehow, and I also feel that that's one of the reasons why I really liked Peak Consult speakers, because some of their speakers had Duelund components in it, and it fascinated me. You know, I spent several years listening to Duelund where I was hypnotized, going like, "Oh my god, I gotta get some of this. I gotta use it on this and that." And yeah, I just realized that, you know, for me that wasn't the end destination sound. I wanted to go with audio note instead, because I just felt that I got a lot deeper into the sound where things just were more real. You know, it wasn't as hyped up in sound, but I mean, fantastic value, fantastic sound. It definitely, you know, I was close to you know, putting this all over my system, and you know, it would also be really cool. I mean, you could in theory get stripes of this and make a power bar out of it that you make yourself, but yeah, that wouldn't be legal or um, fire safe. But oh my god, I do remember trying Duelund on uh, 08040 plugs and 08 M1 F1 plugs and 08 037 plugs, especially on 08 037 plugs. Wow, that's when I heard it for the first time on at my friend's place, and I was mind blown. So those are my considerations. So like and subscribe if you can, and leave a comment. Maybe you have also heard some Duelund sound out there. Have a nice day.